So you're trying to not get replaced by AI, and you're trying to figure out what can you do with your future, but the only stuff that you find is this.
A lot of the code is actually going to be built by AI.
All right, the fifth high-income skill that we're going to talk about is coding.
Qualcomm is planning to cut more than 1,200 jobs. Google, Amazon, and Snap are among the companies continuing to downsize.
There will come a point where no job is needed.
Kind of confusing, right? The one people say that, the other people say that. But the question is, which skills will be needed in the future? And all of that is based on research. So let's take a look at our first source of today. It's the World Economic Forum report. And it basically looks at the future skills of tomorrow, right? So which jobs are going to be needed, which skills are being required. Maybe you have even seen like snapshots of that. But it's very important that we take a closer look at the data, because otherwise you will make wrong conclusions. The first interesting thing about the study is that not so many jobs will be replaced, right? But rather a lot of jobs will be created. So the question is, which jobs will be created or which jobs will sustain in the market? And for this, it makes sense to first look at the fastest growing and declining jobs. You can see the top fastest growing jobs are all data and AI related in some way or form. You see big data specialists, fintech engineers, AI and machine learning experts, database experts, but also like UX and UI designers, data analysts and scientists. So far so clear, right? But if we take a closer look, a lot deeper into the study, and we go to the slide which talks about the replaceability by generative AI, we will see a lot of the same type of skills you probably think about when you think about these jobs being at risk of being replaced. So for example, we can see here AI and big data, but also programming and mathematics. And you might ask yourself, how is that logical, right? On the one hand, they say that's a top job. On the other side, it's one of the things that can be replaced like the easiest. And I can explain to you my personal take on that. So I personally believe, and I also have some evidence to show you in a moment, that what they mean with these specialists, they actually mean people who have a normal job, like some type of competence, and they also have AI or data skills, right? Because if you think about that, most of the stuff that data engineers and like programmers do is a repetition of code that has already been written. I'm not trying to discredit programmers or data scientists in any way, but I'm just trying to say that a lot of the code that you use, right, you basically reuse over multiple times, most of the times even in the same way, or you just adapt a few parameters. And there's already technology that helps you to automate and even to write code or completely not use code at all, such as no code tools for AI. And I'm a big believer that this will be like a skill that more and more people will adapt. And therefore, all of these routine types of data science and data analysis and programming work will become less and less, or it will be outsourced to maybe freelancers, to people abroad who have a lower salary. Because why would you get a person inside of one of the most expensive countries, for example, UK, United States, or Central Europe, right? If you could get another person that basically has the same skill, might have even invested more time overall just due to the nature of their situation. They really want to get that job, and like coding is the only language that works for them at that moment in time, right? Why would you try to compete with a person like that? And this is actually backed up by data, because if we take a bit closer look into the skills that are actually needed, so not the job occupations, but the skills, you will see that the skills on the rise are actually AI and big data. Okay, fine, but what type, right? Is it really you develop a model and you like create state-of-the-art models? Are you sure that's the skill that most companies are going to need? Well, this research suggests otherwise, because they actually say, okay, it's more about the literacy of that stuff, technological literacy, or also creative thinking, analytical thinking. So the ability to be able to understand what this technology can do, right? And then applying it to maybe a domain expertise. So I personally believe that the skill of the future is your skill that you already got, but the additional skill of knowing how AI models work, how machine learning works, and then applying that to your unique skill set. Let me give you an idea of why I think that is true as well. If we take a look at the City study by City, Oxford, and LSE, we will actually see that what they say in here is that yes, data science in general is a skill that adds like a wage premium to your job. But at the same time, you can see that the amount of jobs in comparison to other jobs is significantly lower. And what does that mean? Well, that means that there's a fierce competition in that particular job section, right? And my personal belief system here is actually that there's only two paths for you. You can either become a highly specialized, exceptional programmer, or you can become like an interdisciplinary domain expert who knows AI. Everything in between these two extremes, right, will become obsolete at some point in time because, right, trust me, the mediocre models, the mediocre analyses, computers can already do. ChatGPT can already do, right? It can even surpass the capability of one of the most advanced coding challenges. So if you are not at the top of your game in that area, right, I personally believe the competition you will lose against AI, right? But what you will not lose is connecting one skill of these types of skills with another skill. Because if we take another look here into the study, what we will actually see is that they have a very interesting word for this. They call it the glue. Yeah, it's like a social glue that connects this data science skill or AI skill with personal capabilities. One particular skill that becomes important is collaborative leadership. And if you think about that term, that means a lot of things. It's being creative, leading, managing projects, all of that in combination with a data or AI related skill. But it's not just a data or AI related skill. And that's a skill that you have to develop. And my goal is that I will teach you in the next videos jobs that combine both of these areas. And let me give you a few examples for this. If you look at the hyper-focused exceptional programmer, for me, this is people like Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates. It's people who focus dedicatedly on one area of expertise, for example, computer science or AI, and they become top of their game first. And then maybe at some point, okay, they maybe diversify their interest, right? They build a company or something like this. But at the core, it's that person that is top of class, that's elite in their skill set, right? Whereas on the other side, you have then people which I would consider more the interdisciplinary type of person with domain knowledge and this AI skill. And I personally think I'm a person like that as well, which for me is people like Elon Musk, Steve Jobs, or Mark Zuckerberg. Because if you look at the CVs of these people, right, on one hand, you will notice that these people have been able to spot incredible business opportunities because they were able to think outside of the box and connect interdisciplinary knowledge, together to find a unique problem to solve. And that's something I believe an expert on one topic is harder at achieving. Look at, for example, Elon Musk. He studied economics, physics, and some other stuff. He built PayPal, partly SpaceX, Tesla, Starlink, Neuralink. So a lot of very big ideas, very broad ideas. Same thing with Steve Jobs. Yeah, he also took some calligraphy classes, for example, next to studying. And Mark Zuckerberg, for example, studied computer science and psychology. So you sort of have to decide which persona are you. If you are in the middle, you have to find your destination because being in the middle won't bring you far, my personal opinion. And why is that the case? Well, if your skill is one-dimensional, so you're only exceptional at one particular thing, right? You have to be at the top because the moment you are not, someone else will be. And it might be either another person in your city, in your country, nowadays maybe even worldwide, or it might be just an AI. Whereas if you are an interdisciplinary person, right, you can quickly adapt and switch between jobs. And I can show you that even the market demands this kind of skill. Because if you take a look at LinkedIn and you just search for roles that are purely expert-based, so data scientist, data analyst, AI, machine learning engineer, and you search worldwide, you will see 26,000 something related roles. Yeah, so that's the total amount of jobs. And you have to think for these skills, it's not just you who is competing. Yeah, there's people internationally coming in that don't speak your language, but the language they speak is code. they speak Python, they know, probably every library. So you have to compete with these people. Whereas if you are going the more social route, like, for example, becoming a consultant, a product manager, a trainer, and I will go into a lot of other roads that you can explore in the future, right? You can use your domain skills, but maybe even your intercultural skills that make you unique, right? So it's a lot easier to compete in that. And I can show you here in the data as well, because if we search now for jobs that will just require skills in data AI, right, you will find 181,000 worldwide at the moment, yeah? And you can see if you look through that, there's tons of jobs that are not expert jobs, but it's like a job. Plus, they say, would be great if you know AI and data science. And I think that is what is meant in this study mainly, yeah? It's an additional competency that will rise your skill level significantly because you have this additional edge to your skill set. You're insanely well positioned in this situation because, right, that's a benefit for the company because they still need your core competence, right? They need your domain skill, but they also know, hey, this guy also knows how data science and AI works, and he can maybe build some cool automations or collaborate with some developers in India or in some other place in the world, right, to make specific projects happening. And I personally think that is the skill and the niche to go if you want to be on one hand future-proof and on the other hand very, very valuable in the future for a lot of companies. And now to make this more graspable, what I suggest you do is something called skill stacking. So what does that mean? Well, you take a skill that you already have or is in demand, but that might be more social, or might be maybe more creative, something like this, and you couple it with a pure tech skill. Easiest example would be an AI, maybe creative agency. So you are doing the AI and the creative stuff and you need to have specific skills for this, right? You need to have the media skill, the feeling for brands and everything like this. But at the same time, you can make it very, very productive and efficient because you have this tech skill on top of that. And why this is so cool is because then you can actually create a real unique selling proposition for yourself. So instead of going to the top of like the known pyramid that you maybe see, think about maybe a combination of skills to find a pyramid that you can actually climb, yeah, and be on top of that. So the solution for that is skill stacking. Another example I can give you is from my personal work. I once worked on a sustainability project. And if you think about sustainability, right, would you ever think about technology, AI, data science, at least not immediately, right? But in this case, we wanted to prove whether we are reaching as a country the sustainability development goals. And if you know them, you will know that this means there are different categories in which a country can achieve a specific score in order to say, yes, they are sustainable. The problem, though, is that no one really knows how to measure that. Well, there's people who think about this, but it's not like you can look at a map or at a dashboard nowadays and you will know which country is the most sustainable. And the moment you think about it like this, you will notice it's a full-blown AI data science problem because you have to first think about the data, where can it come from, what processing steps might need to happen, right? Which type of dashboards do you need? Are there some type of predictions you can do? Do you need like traditional statistics for that prediction, or do you might need like machine learning, or might even need deep learning to do a classification of some sorts? And that's exactly a situation that I mean, where the skill of having a domain knowledge, because no AI engineer would ever compete with you in a discussion about sustainability, right? Because that is not their domain. But if your domain is sustainability and you have the capability to talk about AI and machine learning, at least to an extent, right, that makes it plausible to have a discussion about, you can make decisions. And maybe that decision might then be, hey, we need to get an AI engineer, or we might outsource this work to another person outside. But you are in a safe spot because you are the person, the mastermind at the end of the day, who organizes all of this and has the management power over the skill. And that's why I think this is the skill of the future: creativity, management, collaboration, collaborative leadership in combination with the skill of understanding data, AI, and so on and so forth. And what I have shared with you in the description are a few resources that you can take a look at to start to develop the skill. And if you want, you can also take a look at the description and you can see my blog that I just started, which is also a newsletter at the same time. So if you sign up to that, you will get like tips and tricks from me. And in the future, I will let you know about specific jobs. I will interview with people on these jobs and how to get these types of jobs. And if you don't want to miss that, first, leave a comment in the section, like the video and subscribe, of course, and see you in the next video. Yeah, take care.